In less than 5 years, more than 8 million Americans left their states, without leaving the country. They didn't change citizenship, nor did they seek a life abroad. Instead, they made a simpler, more dangerous decision to leave their own countries. New York State alone lost nearly 880,000 residents. In Illinois, about 66% of its population left in a silent exodus. And in West Virginia, the state lost 0.7% of its population in just 1 year, the fastest population decline in modern U.S. history. These aren't normal numbers. They aren't student migration, nor are they driven by poverty, nor are they isolated cases. Those leaving are long-term residents, taxpayers, members of the middle class, and people who have enough options to say, enough is enough. The irony is that some of these states still report population growth, but this growth is merely a statistical illusion, homeowners being replaced by temporary renters, larger numbers, but less stability, more people, but weaker communities. In this video, we'll reveal that 10 states millions will leave by 2026. Not just where Americans are going, but more importantly, why even the most patient among them are deciding to leave. State 8. Mississippi. Mississippi isn't New Jersey or New York. People aren't leaving here because of exorbitant rents or high property taxes. Many are leaving for a simpler and more tragic reason. Staying here means no future. The median household income in Mississippi is only about $53,000 a year. Nearly 19% of the population lives below the poverty line, the highest rate in the United States. Life expectancy is a mere 74.6 years, the lowest in the country. These aren't just numbers. This is an entire life trapped. Imagine a family working long hours, not for luxuries, not even to save, but just to cover the basic necessities. But what might seem shocking is this. Mississippi isn't experiencing a massive exodus. Not because things are good, but because many don't have the money to leave. According to internal migration studies, 71% of those who left Mississippi did so in search of work. Not for quick riches, but for more options, longer stability, and a less risky future for their children. And here begins the dangerous spiral. The first to leave are the able-bodied young people. And with their departure, the birth rate drops. The remaining population ages, illness increases. And the already fragile healthcare system comes under even greater strain. Mississippi isn't just losing its residents. It's losing its future momentum. And here's the harsh truth that must be stated clearly. Mississippi isn't losing its poorest residents. It's losing those who could have reached the middle class. And when they leave, recovery becomes almost impossible. The problem isn't a lack of local pride. It's that pride alone doesn't pay the bills and doesn't stop young people from leaving. The real question isn't, why is Mississippi poor? But, how can a place rise again? After everyone who could have changed it has left. And if Mississippi is an example of forced survival, the next state will tell a completely different story. A place where people could stay, but no longer want to. State 7, Connecticut. For decades, Connecticut thrived thanks to one clear advantage: location. Located between New York and Boston, it was close enough to major economic centers and quiet enough to be considered an upscale suburb. People accepted expensive housing, high taxes, long, cold winters because, in return, they got stable jobs and high incomes. There was an unwritten agreement, bear the cost, for security. Then remote work arrived. And suddenly, that agreement fell apart. Today, more than 63% of Connecticut relocations are out of state. Not because Connecticut collapsed, nor because life suddenly became bad, but because the reason to stay no longer resonated. Let's put it simply. If you can do the same job and get the same pay in North Carolina, Colorado, or even Florida, then why pay the full price of New England for a harsh New England winter? The equation just doesn't make sense anymore. Connecticut is also suffering from a widening class divide. In cities like Stamford, you see neighborhoods where money moves faster than traffic. and just minutes away, you find stagnant communities with fixed incomes and costs rising mercilessly. The result? A state that looks stable from the outside, but is slowly losing its mobility, middle class. Connecticut isn't collapsing, it's bleeding silently. And this kind of bleeding is more dangerous than a sudden collapse, because it happens without a sound and without resistance. If Connecticut is an example of a place that suddenly lost its competitive edge, the next state will show us what happens when the cost of living becomes higher than any sense of belonging. In Hartford, the capital of Connecticut, the poverty rate reaches 28%, a shocking figure in a state officially classified as wealthy. This gap doesn't go unnoticed. It creates a constant sense of unease among the middle class. They aren't rich enough to live comfortably like the upper class, but they are forced to pay costs very close to those of the wealthy. And here's the most serious warning sign. When the middle class starts to emigrate, it's always bad news, because they pay taxes, regularly raise their children in the public education system, keep society functioning normally without the noise, as someone quipped but with remarkable accuracy. Connecticut is where you pay New York prices, but without the New York weekend frenzy. Therefore, what's happening today isn't a mass exodus, but a quiet search for balance. Places that still offer a good quality of life, but at reasonable costs and with less of the daily stress. The real question isn't, what did Connecticut do wrong, but how will it retain its residents when geography is no longer enough of an advantage? And the next answer on this list will be completely different. A place that was once a dream destination, but is gradually losing its appeal because of the very things that made it famous. State 6. Oregon. There was a time when Oregon was a dream for many Americans. Not a dream of getting rich quick, but a dream of a different life. Breathtaking nature, clean air, an open society, and a place where people believe in living slowly, honestly, and kindly. For more than 30 years, Oregon's population was steadily growing. Then, it stopped. For the first time in 3 decades, Oregon's population began to decline. The number may seem small, lonely, about 0.1%, but in demography, it's an early warning sign. Today, the median home price in Oregon is around $540,000 for many middle-class families. This means something simple and painful. The dream of living close to nature has become a long-term debt, but money isn't the only problem. Oregon faces challenges familiar to anyone who has lived in a big city: a rising homelessness crisis, a drug abuse crisis, and a growing sense that the quality of life isn't improving despite rising costs. You don't need complicated charts to understand this. Just imagine paying more each year. The sense of security diminishes, order deteriorates, and everyday comforts become more difficult to achieve. The deeper problem lies in the gap between ideals and reality. Oregon has always attracted people with its noble values. But when policies and systems fail to keep pace with rapid social change, these values begin to erode. There's a sad yet accurate saying: people don't come to Oregon to live in chaos. They come looking for peace. And when peace becomes the hardest thing to find, people start looking elsewhere, like Arizona or Colorado or other states with a lower cost of living and less daily stress. The real question isn't, is Oregon still beautiful? It's, can a place that was once livable keep its residents when daily life becomes so exhausting? And the next state on this list will reveal another paradox altogether. A place so beautiful that everyone wants to visit, but only a few can stay long. The 5th state, Hawaii. In the minds of many Americans, Hawaii isn't a state in the traditional sense. It's a dream. Blue sea, perpetual sunshine, a relaxed pace of life, a place where people say, if I could live here, I wouldn't complain about a thing. But the reality is different. Hawaiian is a paradise for tourists, not for residents. Each year, about 14,000 more people leave Hawaii than move there. Not because they hate it, but because they can't afford to live there. Almost everything has to be shipped by air or sea. Milk fuel, food building materials, and every bill includes shipping costs. Going to the store in Hawaii, many joke, but it's true. The bill is like a car payment. On paper, income isn't bad, but when rent, food, and the cost of living rise faster than wages, the numbers lose their meaning, and the problem doesn't stop at money. The geography itself is a beautiful trap. Living far from the mainland means being far from family, support networks, and emergency situations when things go wrong. Many move to Hawaii, intending to experiment for a few years. But after the honeymoon phase, they discovered the truth. The breathtaking scenery doesn't compensate for the isolation, nor does it alleviate the constant financial strain. There's a very apt saying, "Paradise is beautiful," but it doesn't pay the rent. That's why, when people leave Hawaii, they often return to California, Utah, or states closer to their families. Not out of greed, but in search of a sustainable life. The real question isn't, is Hawaii still beautiful? It's, if even this beauty isn't enough to keep people, what will? Fourth state, Alaska. Alaska is a rare American paradox. It's practically the only state that pays you just to stay. Residents receive a share of oil revenues annually, sometimes amounting to thousands of dollars per person. This sounds tempting, but the reality is different. Since 2016, Alaska has been experiencing a steady decline in its population. Because money, even if it helps pay bills, doesn't cure isolation. Alaska is vast, its nature is majestic, but distance here isn't measured in miles. It's measured in feelings. Long winters, short days, going to work in the dark and returning in the dark. Psychologically, this is a hidden tax, not shown on income statements, but one that wears people down over time. Alaska's population peaked at around 740,000 during the oil and gas boom. And as prices and opportunities declined, the question began to emerge. What am I supposed to endure? Even military personnel and skilled workers rarely stay after their contracts expire. It's not that they don't love Alaska, it's that Alaska demands more than most people can give forever. As they say, Alaska is beautiful, but not everyone can bear its silence. Third state. Louisiana. Louisiana was once a state with a strong economic presence. Oil, gas, ports, and energy. Industries that built an entire middle class. But when the economic foundation crumbles, everything above it begins to crack. Today, more than 70% of those leaving Louisiana cite job losses as a primary reason. Tourism is still thriving, and New Orleans is vibrant, but tourism doesn't build a stable middle class. Low-income jobs are precarious and easily lost at the first sign of trouble. And when the economy falters, another vulnerability is exposed. Healthcare. Louisiana ranks poorly in healthcare quality. With high smoking rates, obesity, chronic diseases, and a low life expectancy, imagine, you work hard, your income is limited, your health starts to decline. Then you discover that the system around you is unable to support you. That's when people leave. Not because they don't like Louisiana, but because staying means accepting increased risks to the family. Second state. Illinois. Illinois isn't poor, and it's not without opportunities. Its problem is simpler and more serious. People are exhausted. The average property tax is nearly 2.16%, one of the highest in the country. Your home consumes a portion of your income just to stay standing. It's no wonder that 66% of relocations are out of state. And remarkably, a large percentage of residents explicitly describe it as the worst state to live in. It's not just about money, it's about a breakdown of trust. Taxes are rising, costs are increasing, but the feeling that effort is being rewarded is disappearing. And when trust disappears, the most dangerous sign appears: apathy. As they say, when people are angry, they still care. But when they go silent and leave, that's the real warning sign. State number 1. West Virginia. It's not noisy. It's not glamorous. But it's the fastest shrinking state in America. In just